Oh, it is. It is a Tuesday episode, a terrible Take Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hello to Big Dan, to David, who's already commenting on the title of the episode. Who will have the best season this year in South Florida? We'll get to that in a moment. Oh, hello, our guy Marco, north of the border. MB Beggs is on board. Hello to you as well. This episode and every episode of Donno Daily is served by the official sports bar of this show, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Oh, guys, the Quarterdeck. The seafood is so fresh at QD, my friends. The oysters and Maine lobster, the sushi. I love to build my own poke bowl at the Quarterdeck. The sandwiches and burgers, the baby back ribs. The meat falls right off the bone on those baby back ribs. So good. You want to take advantage of the drink specials at the Quarterdeck. They have 2-for-1 happy hour. That's all day, every day, 365 days a year. I don't know what kind of calendar I'm using. 365 days a year, the 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. And all throughout football season, my friends, on Saturdays and Sundays, you can get the 5 for $15 ice cold buckets of imported beer, the Heineken family of beers, or High Noon Hard Seltzer. Mix and match them to your heart's content. 5 for $15 ice cold buckets. They got TVs, high def, covering every wall to watch all the football action. Watch every UFC pay-per-view fight at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. If you want to peep their menu or find the location nearest to you before you go, make sure you visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. We have an official sports book here on Donno Daily. I won some money on the Cowboys last night. Kudos to them, Monday Night Football. And I won that money on BetUS.com. And Brooklyn Rob, if you're watching, no, I did not mush the Cowboys yesterday. The Cowboys won comfortably. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. You can join now, and if you use our code, we have a hookup. When you sign up at BetUS, use our code 5RSN125. It'll ask you if you have a promo code. You do. It's 5RSN125 and get a 125% sign up bonus. So if you deposit $100 with your credit card, they'll give you $125 of free play money on top of your deposit. Or if you sign up with crypto, get a 200% bonus and bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. And I totally co-sign on what Big Dan just said. Hit that like button. Yeah, everyone, whether you're watching us live right now or you're watching a replay later on today, tomorrow, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to 5 Reasons YouTube. Before we get into the question of the day, which is on the episode title, I want to share some Miami Dolphins information that came from my source, who's been pretty good with this stuff. I'm starting to trust him more and more. He tells me that really at this point, one of the only ways they see that Chris Grier can save his job, like I'm really starting to think Grier is on the hot seat here. You look at all the high draft picks he has used and misused. All those picks he acquired for Laramie Tunsil, Minkah Fitzpatrick, if those picks are all getting wasted and misused, unfortunately, that reflects very poorly on your resume. And if you can't prove you found the right quarterback, and we still haven't proven that yet with Tua, that's going to go on your resume. And GMs do not keep their jobs in this league if you can't find the right quarterback. I'm told that perhaps the only way for him to save his job is to pull the trigger on a Deshaun Watson trade. Maybe it doesn't have to be today, tomorrow, by November 2nd, but it's sometime before next season. That might be the way to save his job. I'm told that the first phone call that Chris Grier received after that loss in Las Vegas, a little alliteration there, the first phone call he received was from Stephen Ross, who, I don't know what the specifics were of that conversation, but he obviously wasn't too happy about the way that game played out. And I'm told that a number of different Dolphins players, and I'm sure the Dolphins owner probably felt the same way, because we know he's been very vocal about getting Deshaun Watson here, at least according to the reports from Pro Football Talk and from CBS, that a number of Dolphins players, they saw, like I saw, like you saw, that Sean Stanley saw, they saw what Justin Herbert just did on the road in Kansas City. And you start to have a conversation about, did you draft the wrong guy in 2020? But Sean, listen, you brought up a great point to me. Now there's no question Justin Herbert looks sensational, was putting up godlike numbers as a rookie, and now he's starting to get the big victories in addition to putting up the numbers. But you brought up a great point to me about how, and listen, I'm not saying I don't regret not having Herbert, because it's starting to get to that point with me. But I mean, it's still, if you don't have the blocking up front, what's Herbert going to do here, Sean?
Well, yeah, that's my whole question on Herbert is, one, you don't have a run game here. We haven't established that. And you don't have the guys up front. He's not going to have the time he has in San Diego. And I'm not saying that he couldn't have come here and maybe been a little bit different than what Tua has, but when you have 1.97 seconds, that's no time. That's not even time to do a three-step drop, and you're getting hit already. At that point, I think, you got to step back. Yes, the numbers are great. You look at Justin Herbert and the numbers, you can't deny that when you look at it, but that's great for fantasy. If it's not adding up to wins, KC is the first win that he's had that's been a good win, and I think that goes back to some of the games even back in college.
Yeah.
He had great numbers, just didn't have the big win. Not saying he didn't show up. I'm not saying it's Justin Herbert's fault in those losses, but it didn't equate to wins. He's throwing up great numbers, but wasn't getting the wins. And again, the one thing that I look at is this offensive line. I don't know. You put Justin Herbert back there, could he take more hits? Possibly.
He is a lot bigger than Tua.
Yeah.
He can take more hits, I think.
I just don't know that he's going to have those numbers. Now we have the weapons this year.
Yeah.
Last year we didn't have the weapons. So who would he been throwing to as far as, I mean, I guess you had Devontae Parker and some of those around, but by the end of the year, you didn't have those weapons to have those numbers. So, again, yeah, it looks great when we're able to play the results, but I don't know that he would be the Justin Herbert you see every Sunday for the Los Angeles Chargers, since I called them the San Diego Chargers earlier, but the Los Angeles
I do the same thing all the time.
You would see Justin Herbert of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, a thing that I'm told by my source who's spoken to some players is that, like, they all think Tua's a really nice guy, but they're seeing what Justin Herbert is doing. Los Angeles, not San Diego, but I'm sure he'd be great in San Diego as well.
I would be, yeah.
Wherever he played, he'd probably do really well. But they see what he's doing, and they like Tua. But you look at what the guy drafted one spot after him is doing, and seems to be a little envy there. Rafa in Miami writes in, what makes things worse for Chris Grier isn't just that potentially Tua might not be the guy, it's that he passed on Herbert. Yeah, and listen, I would have done the same thing. I mean, I'm not paid seven figures to be a general manager in the National Football League, but I definitely wanted Tua. I didn't want Herbert. I wanted Tua. I wonder what the Chargers would have done if the shoes had been on the other foot and the Chargers had the 5th pick and the Dolphins had the 6th pick. Would the Chargers have taken Tua? I suspect they probably would have. Welch writes in, is this Donno trying to mush Justin Herbert? Those days are behind me, bro. I got into a couple of Twitter fights last season, when Herbert, wasn't winning anything. And Anthony Lynn was one of the worst coaches in the NFL. And he was putting up numbers and not winning anything. I got in a few fights about that with Los Angeles Chargers fans. And unfortunately, they can basically dunk on me now with impunity because Herbert is continuing to rise to the occasion, and that team is getting better. So he's no longer putting up empty stats. Like, his stats now actually mean something when you're getting the W's to go along with the stats, okay? We got another good comment from, we got a number of good comments, but I like this one from MB Beggs. He says, if Grier is gone, Tua is essentially gone. No GM wants a previous GM's quarterback. Yeah, if it's not a good one. If it's not a great one, of course. I mean, listen.
But also, I think one more injury and Tua's gone, regardless if Grier stays or not. I mean, I think it's an injury away.
Yeah, I mean, we were too patient through Ryan Tannehill's injuries, right? Because he missed time with 2 separate injuries to the same knee, and we waited it out both of those times through years 5 and 6, and then finally after year 7, we had enough.
That's what's hurting Tua right now as well, too. The fact that we sat as Dolphins and sat there and waited for Tannehill to become what we wanted him to, and we never saw it happen. Now we're very quick to pull the cord on Tua just because of where he's been. And I don't think he's done a season worth of games yet. I think he got injured on his 12th game or 13th game. Yeah. He hasn't even been here for a season, and we're already like, okay, we've seen enough. Let's pull the cord because we let Tannehill sit here too long.
Yeah, I hear you. I want to get to the question and pull up the results we have so far, Sean, from my Twitter poll. Now, because this got my wheels turning in my brain. The little hamsters are running on the wheel inside my head. Because we had Miami Heat Media Day yesterday. And in about 5 minutes, we're going to be joined by Brady Hawk to recap what he saw and what he wrote about at Miami Heat Media Day yesterday, because he did a fantastic job keeping us updated. And, I'm looking at the Heat's new big three. I've got high expectations coming in. I'm also really bullish on the Florida Panthers. So I put this out there on Twitter this morning. Which South Florida team is going to have the best year when the current or upcoming seasons are in the books? Because I'm including the early football seasons that are happening right now. So I put in the Miami Dolphins, who are 3 games into a young season, Miami Hurricanes, 4 games into a young season, Miami Heat, who just had media day, they're starting up next month, Florida Panthers, who are starting up in October, they're playing preseason games already. Which team is going to have the best year? Now, you see very little love coming in for the football teams, and I get it. And for those asking why I didn't include the Marlins, 2 reasons. Reason number 1, Sean's laughter says a lot. Yeah, reason number 1, they're almost 30 games under 500 right now. So it's pretty obvious. And then reason number 2, you can only actually put 4 choices on a Twitter poll anyway. So the Marlins,
Miami, Donno.
The Marlins were a very easy exclusion. And listen, the Dolphins, let's not forget the latter part of the schedule, once they get through the first 5, is a lot lighter than the early part. So I'm not giving up hope on the Dolphins yet. The Miami Hurricanes don't look very good, but they do still have everything to play for, because they've not played an ACC game yet. They opened Thursday night against Virginia. The Miami Heat, I think, are going to end up being the 3 seed in the East and can make some noise. The Florida Panthers, I'll get to them in a second, but leading the vote so far, the Miami Heat at 47%. The Florida Panthers are a close second, and I like that. Actually, the stats have changed a little bit. It's getting even closer. Miami Heat at 46%. Florida Panthers a close second at 44%. Then you've got the Miami Dolphins at 6% and the Miami Hurricanes at 4%. I love the Canes, but I don't know why anyone would have honestly voted for the Canes in this poll.
I think that's because Clemson and North Carolina are so bad, they might see them fluke into the Coastal.
True. Yeah, it stinks that Miami sucks right now, because Clemson looks beatable, North Carolina looks bad. So yeah, it's going to be a frustrating season if the Hurricanes can't get their act together. But honestly, if I could vote on my own poll, I would be voting for the Florida Panthers. To me, the Miami Heat would be a close second, because I still think it's going to be really hard to get out of the East with Brooklyn. I know that they're having Kyrie issues right now, but I think they'll figure something out. But Brooklyn and Milwaukee, it's going to be hard to get out of the East. Thankfully, Philly's in shambles right now, which is good news. But to me, it's the Florida Panthers. I think Spencer Knight is going to have a breakout year in net. He's going to end up being the 1A, and Bob is going to end up being the 1B or the backup. I know our guy David would be very happy about that, because he's not a big Bob fan. I don't know how any Florida Panthers fan would be a big Bob fan right now. Yeah, Bob, listen, you have to understand, you don't talk shit about Sergei Bobrovsky. I love to stop puck. Problem is, since I come down to Florida, I stop a lot of puck in Columbus. Yes, so the puck come at me, Bob, stop it. Once I come down to Florida, South Beach, Miami, not very cold down here, I have problems stopping puck now in Florida. I really have problem. Oh, and I feel bad for our guy, Marco, because he's in Canada. He lives in Toronto. He says, hockey talk. I deal with hockey talk 24/7, 365 here. I'll keep it brief for you, Marco. I'll keep it brief, because, listen, Marco's up in Canada, but I know a lot of South Floridians are not into hockey talk either. But I think the Panthers are going to be really good this year. Aaron Ekblad back healthy. Yeah. Sam Reinhart re-signing, Joe Thornton signing. Those were important. Panthers had the misfortune last year of matching up in the first round with Tampa Bay, the eventual champions, which would not have happened in a normal year based on seeding, but you had all those bubbles last year. So, the Panthers, to me, they've got the coach, they've got the roster, they've got the team, and I think they're going to have the goaltender this year to really make a serious run. I think the Heat can make a run as well, but I'm actually a little bit more bullish even on the Florida Panthers than I am on the Miami Heat.
But Don, also, isn't it that you look at the Panthers and you say, okay, Stanley Cup, they have an opportunity. They are about, if they can stay healthy. I think they were an injury. If Ekblad doesn't get injured, I think they possibly could have had that run last year. So that, looking at that, and then the Heat, can get to the third, but are they better than, the Bucks? Are they better than, some of those other teams? When you look at that, I think that's why, to me, the Panthers, I agree with you. The Panthers are the one I think could have the better of the season.
Yeah, and the way it goes, like in the NBA playoffs, the best team usually wins, whereas in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the hottest team wins.
Hottest team.
So
Yep.
it's a little bit different. Like you may not be the best regular season team, but if all of a sudden like your top two lines get in really good goal scoring form and you've got a hot goaltender, then yeah, it's not always the best team that wins playoff series in the NHL. It's the hottest team. Donno, your friend David Dwork is probably lurking and voting multiple times. Just saying. He's probably creating burner accounts just to vote on the Panthers multiple times because you're only technically allowed to vote once, but per account. If he's creating burners, he's voting Panthers, 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 Panthers. But I like the Miami Heat as well. And I loved some of the stories that came out of Heat Media Day yesterday. And I want to bring in our good friend who's a Tuesday staple on the show. This is the busiest guy on 5reasonsports.com. He is always churning out the content. And there he is, Brady Hawk. Good afternoon, Brady. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing so well. And I want to start here. And by the way, I encourage everyone to read, among the other stories he's posted in the last week, the full Miami Heat Media Day recap, because I couldn't be out there. I'm sure, most of you watching, if you're not, an active media member, couldn't be out there. I thought Brady did a great job keeping us posted. I want to start with what you tweeted about what Spo said about PJ Tucker. And, our Monday guest who we talk Heat with, Alana Tahauer, is a huge PJ Tucker fan. And that was actually the signing she was most excited about. I love the way Spo summed it up. The way he competes and puts himself out there just screams Miami Heat culture. What area do you see PJ Tucker being most valuable for the Heat this coming season?
Yeah, I think that was our first culture comment of the media day. So Spolstra really threw that out there with PJ Tucker to start that off. But I think it's going to start defensively. Like if you're looking at the defensive lineups they can throw out with or without Victor Oladipo returning, PJ Tucker is going to be out there. And if I'm talking about closing lineups, forgetting defensive stuff, just who's going to be out there at the end of games, it's going to be Kyle Lowry, it's going to be Bam Adebayo, it's going to be Jimmy Butler. We know that. But I think it's going to be PJ Tucker in that group as well, just because he's such an Eric Spoelstra guy that he tends to like those type of players that he can trust. Doesn't need to be ball dominant. He could stay in the corner and still be impactful. Doesn't have to score. He could still be impactful. So I think it is a culture fit because he just does so many things that doesn't show up in a box score, and Eric Spoelstra is going to love him.
I love it. Hey, Sean, do me a favor and bring up that tweet with the photo of the Heat's new big three. They were putting on a little Charlie's Angels pose yesterday, and it's funny because even I'm too young for Charlie's Angels. Brady is like 2 generations too young to watch Charlie. Maybe he saw the movies that came out a while back. But yeah, you see it, Jimmy with the braids, Bam, and then of course Kyle Lowry in the middle. Brady, this is the most potent big three the Miami have had since the big three about a decade ago. And obviously this is a very, very different big three, but you see teams lately in the NBA, trios or dynamic duos are so important. Where would you stack this up? Like as far as, trios around the NBA, can this trio compete with the best of them?
Yeah, I think definitely. Like you look at obviously the Nets one is always the one that comes to mind, but some of their players aren't going to probably be playing home games. So you might have to cross them out. The Milwaukee Bucks just came off a championship. They still have Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis. They're probably at the top of that when talking about it from the East. But I think the Lowry, Butler, Adebayo trio is right up there. And I think more than anything, we could talk about the X's and O's stuff all we want. Their personalities just mix. And you've seen that yesterday, watching Jimmy Butler crawl through the reporter room to put his big face coffee cup on the thing when Lowry's talking. Like these guys look like they played together for 10 seasons, and it's going to be Lowry's first time with this team. Obviously they've been friends for years, so it's not surprising, but it's just like these personalities just mix that I think it's going to obviously turn over to the court. And just like we've said before, when you have 3 guys that are so similar, like Spoelstra said yesterday, they got like-minded people on this team. And you've seen that the way they got with their roster construction, the guys they picked up. But even the guys they still have on their team, they're very alike. And I think you kind of need that if you're going to build a team for the playoffs where you can have a theme. You look back to last season, even the team in the bubble, when they went to the finals, they didn't really have a theme. They were hot. They had guys that were weak defenders. They had guys that were strong defenders. You could throw out different lineups, but they didn't have a theme. This team has a theme.
I want to talk about Bam Adebayo. He said yesterday that his focus in the offseason has been shooting. I want to be a shooter, he said. What would be a reasonable expectation into how much we can expect Bam's shot to improve? Might we even see some threes this year, or is that too much to ask?
Yeah, when he was asked about if he was going to shoot over 1 3 a game, he just laughed and gave one word answer, and he said, yeah. So there's something interesting about that. Like, there's one thing to say it, be the first thing you say that you worked on in the offseason, but the thing that stuck out to me is that he said it confidently, and he came out there and was make sure to kind of put that out there. And if he wasn't willing to really do that, I don't think he's just going out there and saying that the first thing in that type of interview. And there's also something else he said that I think was interesting. He said that he kind of got bored with the way he was getting his shot selection last season. He was looking to mix it up. And I think that has something to do with it as well. You can talk about the threes, maybe mixing it up, getting from different spots. But obviously, I want to be a shooter does not have to be threes. I think we see him from different spots in the mid-range. We talked about Kyle Lowry setting him up in different spots, obviously as a rim runner. But I think we see Bam a little bit more from maybe the baseline. We see him running some pop stuff. Like, it's just, I think last season he kind of got bored shooting from the elbow every single play. Like, he was playmaking, shooting, doing everything from that elbow because he was forced to. Kyle Lowry being out of this team obviously changes that.
Now, we're talking about Bam shooting more, but then he's also added muscle and size, to win some more battles down low and maybe make some of the shots while he's fouled, get more and ones. So, he actually, unlike last year, he had like a full off season this year. He talked about actually having time to get into the gym, get into the lab, and put on about 15 pounds of quality muscle. Came in around 245 last year, comes in at 260 this year. How can you see a center like Bam, how much can he benefit from adding about 15 pounds?
Yeah, I think we didn't really take into account that shoulder injury in the finals because that was obviously what contributed to that. He couldn't put as much time in the weight room just because of that. This offseason, he was completely healthy. He was able to go hard in that department. So he's able to add 15 pounds, as you said. We could talk about him being a shooter, but I think the number one thing for him is becoming a better attacker, finding ways to get downhill with the ball in his hands. And like we talked about before, turning into pure takeover. Like, he's going to have the Lowry effect, but if he doesn't take the ball in his hands and just go, which, by the way, that was something that Jimmy Butler said, and I think that was probably the number one thing out of any presser yesterday. Jimmy Butler said that adding Kyle Lowry allows Bam Adebayo to just go. And if they get Bam Adebayo to just go, this team turns into the next tier. Like, there's no doubt about that if he can just go. So adding an extra 15 pounds allows him to be a little bit more comfortable against bigs and take it in, draw some more contact. This team is going to live at the free throw line, as we said before. Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo. Bam Adebayo is in that grouping as well, especially if he has that extra pounds, get to the rim and take that contact.
Yeah, we saw Oladipo yesterday, who said he's got unfinished business. And he didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't really give any specifics about his timetable, but I know Spo has spoken pretty optimistically about it. So, if we can get Oladipo back sooner rather than later, we can expect the Heat, I would imagine, to be in pretty good shape come spring if we can get him back in the wintertime.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think we're going to hear a timetable anytime soon. Like, you heard Spoelstra say yesterday that was the first thing he was asked and said he's not giving a timetable. With the Heat, I just don't think we're going to see that until like right when it happens down the line in the regular season. But until then, you kind of predict forward. Like I've said before, he's their wild card. I think he's probably one of the biggest wild cards in the entire NBA just because a healthy Victor Oladipo on this team late in the regular season for a late season push or the postseason just changes everything for this team. Like, no team in the NBA has a weapon on their team that they're waiting that you don't know what they're going to give you. And that's what Oladipo basically is. The stuff he was saying, the unfinished business, he looked pretty mobile just walking around, I guess. Like, didn't seem any like injury pain wise. So I guess it's just a lot of healing. Guess see what he does. But if he's able to come back and he can still move at a decent bit, like, we know what he can bring on both ends coming back from injury. Like, the parts, he's going to still have that shot creation to a certain degree, still going to have the defensive capabilities. But if he can move, get to the rim with that mobile in the mobile department, then you have a totally different Giant.
By the way, when we can, we'd like to mix in some of the questions and comments from the chat. Simply AKG was asking your thoughts on the Celtics. So what's your expectation for Boston this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because obviously they're a team that kind of shifted some things as well. They added Dennis Schroeder. You don't really know what they're going to bring, but I think they knocked down a tier. Obviously, losing Kemba Walker, you don't really know because he was obviously injured a bunch. But I think the Heat are now in a different department. Like, we've talked about them being in this middle grouping, and it's kind of interesting to see them now being in that top 3 seeding where you see them in the Nets and Bucks tier, I think that the Heat have to be careful because they have to get to a decent seed in the East. Like, as much as we say they're a postseason team, you do not want to be a 5 or a 6 seed again and have to go through what they went through past years. Like the bubble, they got through it in a difficult way, but you don't want to do that again. You want to try to get through. You want to be in that top grouping and see what happens. But the Celtics are obviously a threat, and you do not want to be sitting there at a 4 and a 5 seed matchup in the first round and have to go through that, right away.
Yeah, I want to go back to Brooklyn real quick, because you alluded to the fact that not necessarily every member of their big three is going to even be able to play home games. How much clarification do we have on that rule? Because I know about the law, but the reason why I'm asking is, like, has this been explicitly stated by anyone in the NBA? Because there's kind of a parallel with the UFC, because the UFC is going to be doing an event at Madison Square Garden in November. And not all of the fighters scheduled to fight on that card are necessarily vaccinated. And my understanding is Dana White explained this, the UFC president, that I think there could be other protocols to clear athletes to compete, but that rule, it is non-negotiable when it comes to like fans and attendees and spectators. So I don't know, unless somebody from the NBA has said otherwise. I'm thinking that, and I'm not saying I'm happy about the fact that Kyrie's not vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. I'd like as many players as possible to be, but I'm still convinced they may be able to find a way around that rule.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of protocols. Like they said, you have to go through a lot more testing before games. And I think that's just going to be what it is. But if that's the case, I think there's going to be a lot of games, if they allow them to play, there's going to be a lot of games where they're not cleared by the time they could play. Like, I think there was a lot of stuff where coaches and things were coming in earlier because they had to get the testing done at an early time. And that was kind of like the issue with the last season, trying to get through testing. Maybe they're not doing that as much because most people are vaccinated. They're not coming in at the early stages going through that. Obviously, I don't really know the exact clarification of that, but I think that could play a part where you see them play some home games because he gets cleared, he gets the negative tests. But then obviously there could be plenty of games. Like I think New York, Brooklyn, they said Toronto, like those traveling games are one thing. And then obviously the home games are another.
Well said. Good stuff as always. Make sure you follow this man on Twitter at BradyHawk305 and check out his work at 5reasonsports.com. And, for those who are looking for Media Day content, Brady has you covered. Make sure you check out his piece, full Miami Heat Media Day recap. Brady, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me on.
I love it. Great stuff. Give Brady a raise. I love that comment. Whatever he's making, quadruple it, quintuple it, I tell you. Guys, I want to get into Terrible Take Tuesday. Want to air out some bad takes. Got a couple of bad food takes today. Terrible Take Tuesday is brought to you by the great people at You Break Wheel Fix, conveniently located in North Miami. So whether you're in Broward or you're in Dade, they are not far away. Mark and his repair and refinishing techs have over 20 years of experience, guys. They are dedicated to providing high-quality repairs for cracked, bent, or damaged rims and wheels. They get the job done quickly, and they get it done right with a quality guarantee. And they've got 5 stars on Google, Yelp. So if you don't want to take my word for it, take the word of so many satisfied customers. And they want to make sure you keep your car on the road. So they'll even offer you loaner wheels so you can get your car right back on those streets while they're working on your wheels. And guys, here's what I love about You Break Wheel Fix. This separates them from the competition. Not only can you get your wheels perfectly repaired and refinished, you can also get them tricked out. They love South Florida sports. Mark and his staff, they love our local sports teams as much as I do and as much as any of you do. So you can get your wheels done. Miami Dolphins colors, Miami Hurricanes colors, the pink and black from Inter Miami looks fantastic. Miami Heat colors, they will hook you up and make your ride look so sweet at You Break Wheel Fix. You want to call them, schedule an appointment, 305-748-0112, or get them online at youbreakwheelfix.com. So heading into another edition of Terrible Take Tuesday. Sean, let me get started here with this food tweet, okay? This is from White Sox Dave from Barstool. Had to stop and get a za at the best za spot on earth on the way home tonight. Now, first of all, anytime you see somebody bragging about the best pizza spot on earth, immediately I got to do a location check, because unless you're located in Naples, Italy, you are lying about getting the best pizza on earth. And also, those pizzas that he's showing in those photos, those aren't just overcooked. Those goddamn things are cremated. Like, those pizzas are beyond done, my dude. Mercy. Those pizzas tapped out 5 minutes before you took them out of the oven. That is burnt to a crisp. I am not a fan. And the other thing, and Sean Stanley, pop yourself in here, because I don't know if you've ever heard this term before. I think this tweet from White Sox Dave is what inspired the reaction. But a couple of friends of mine were tweeting about this yesterday, and they claim they've actually heard this before, that there are some idiots who actually refer to pizza as za for short. I had literally never heard that before yesterday. Had you ever heard that before?
No, I've never heard of that. Honestly, with the way the cheese was burnt on the top, I thought it was lasagna. Honestly, I didn't know those were pizzas. I didn't take a very good look at it, but I thought it was like a lasagna or something.
Yeah, dude, if somebody serves me a pizza that burnt, I'm sorry, I'm sending it back. Like, try again. I'm not paying for this. I'm not eating this. That pizza got mushed, Brooklyn Rob says. And like, full disclosure, I've never been to Chicago before. I'm not a huge deep dish fan. And those are not deep dish, by the way. And I know people from Chicago will tell me that, deep dish is not the only Chicago pizza. They also do a thin crust za in Chicago, but I'm not a deep dish fan. And if you're telling me that's what the thinner crust looks like in Chicago, like, please, like, feel free to take it out after only 45 minutes. You left that in for a freaking hour. It's way, way, way too much, man. So another terrible take. I don't think my dude should have given in on this. So on the Manning cast last night, Eli Manning was recounting his tales of what it was like to meet the fans in Philadelphia, which is like the meanest city in America. 9-year-olds will flip him the double bird. And then Eli, like, he hesitated. He wasn't sure. He even put up like the 2 fists, wasn't sure if he was allowed to. And then he ends up flipping the double birds on ESPN or ESPN2 or wherever it is that they broadcast the Manning cast, and then saying, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this. And listen, bro, anybody who's actually offended by double birds, especially in that context where you're telling a story, like, you're not like saying, hey, everybody watching this, here's what I think of you. He's telling a story about 9-year-olds flipping him the double bird. Anyone who's offended by that, I don't think a person of that actually exists. Like, no, people aren't actually offended by stuff like this. They just want to be offended by it. I call them the outrage vampires. Like, well, I'm not offended by this, but someone should be.
Everybody in ESPN, everybody in Bristol gets offended by that. Nobody else.
And what I'm upset about was, because I don't think Eli did anything wrong. And, it's not like on cable TV, you're not allowed to do this. ESPN made him apologize for it on air. And like, come on. How lame is that? Terrible take on their part. And yeah, I guess he had to, but I feel bad that he gave in.
Yeah, and just for that, Eli should not be able to make it to the Hall of Fame now. I'm saying that tarnished him for me.
We're keeping him out of the Hall of Fame.
Not that it's going to work anyway.
Marco writes it. Outrage Inc. Yeah, those are the outrage vampires, man. Like people they love it. It's recreational outrage is what it is. Last terrible take real quick. I guess he's saying this to try to sound humble. Tommy Brady going back to Foxborough. Buccaneers are going to take on the Patriots in New England. And Brady said about the fans at Foxborough, he's being too humble. He says, I wouldn't expect a homecoming, Brady said. I think they're there to root for their team, and their team is the Patriots. And I'll certainly have a lot of people that cheered for me over the years, cheered in past tense. I know that there will probably be, I have a lot of family there, and I have a lot of friends that have wanted to go to the game. So for him saying he doesn't think it's going to be a homecoming, everything that I can tell from the Bostonians that I know, yeah, you're right. It's BS. Like I know Bostonians who are Patriots fans. I can hear the buzz of that city. It's going to be a love fest. It is going to be like there, and rightfully so. There is so much appreciation for the guy who spent 2 decades slinging the rock there and won them 6 Super Bowls. There is so much appreciation. Tommy Brady is going to get a louder ovation when he runs out on that field for the first time. He will get a louder ovation than any of the Patriots players. Like, if the Patriots score a game-winning touchdown with a second left on the clock, Brady will still have the loudest ovation. Yeah, well, it's probably not going to happen. You're right.
There's only one thing that's going to be louder than the ovation Brady gets. And that's the boos after New England gets ran off the field by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. Like if Brady throws a crazy TD pass, they'll cheer for him. Like they are so, and I think it's cool. I think it's really cool that even though he doesn't play for their team anymore, there's so much appreciation, well-deserved appreciation. I think Boston's going to be incredibly gracious to Brady. Let's bring in our next guest on this episode. You know him, you love him. Follow him on Twitter at exclusivity Randy the Realist.
What's good, bro?
We got Juan Cardona with us. Juan, how you doing, sir?
What are the glasses?
So I've realized that every Tuesday I just wake up like in a mood, and I've decided to call that mood Randy the Realist. So every Tuesday now I'm just gonna be Randy the Realist. So Juan is not here today. So every question you ask, it's going to Randy the Realist, and he's gonna give you the real deal, like Holyfield, bro. Like,
dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, Randy, let me ask you. Did the Dolphins draft the wrong quarterback in 2020? Because the guy that was taken a spot after Tua Tagovailoa, he looks like Jesus in pads and a helmet.
Damn. All right, we getting real deal, Holyfield. Okay. Do I think they got the wrong guy? I think the choice of the guy and the reasons for it haven't aligned. So we haven't seen Tua, right? We haven't seen the Tua that they saw the vision for and what they got sold on and what they sold us on. But yeah, they made the wrong decision.
Hold on. How do you throw out so many qualifiers only to say they made the wrong? So okay. So why?
You know why? I'll answer that real quick.
Yeah, answer that for me, Randy.
Because Herbert has had too many hold my what performance to like really get off. Because look, he started 2-9. He started 2-9, right? And it was all stats and he didn't get wins. That loss versus the Patriots, since then, he's gone 6-1.
Ooh, I did not know. That's a great stat. I did not realize that.
Gone 6-1, bro. Every single game, you already know he's performing, putting up stats, and now he's winning. So what's the excuse here now? Because now it's it's the teams he's facing, and look, the game against Dallas, he lost it. He lost it, really. Well, I saw him score 2 touchdowns in 2 drives, and then they had 2 penalties.
Right.
The game before that, he only scored 17 points. Whatever. There's always an excuse to it, but now he's winning and putting up numbers. So who am I to really say that he's just that good, bro? Like it's to that level, and I understand that maybe he has better weapons, but I don't even feel that comfortable saying that definitively because I really, bro, I honestly would put Waddle, Fuller, Devontae Parker, and Gesicki against anybody in the league right now, and I would feel comfortable in like comparing them, bro. There's talent. It's just I don't know if it's like a skill versus will, where like the Dolphins are really just holding everything back and it's him just doing the best he can with it, or like they just know he can't handle like giving him a full complement, like a full complement of like a playbook.
Now, what about this comment that just came in from Brooklyn Rob? And Sean Stanley said something similar earlier. He says, too early for this conversation. Put Herbert behind the Dolphins O-line, take away Williams, Allen, and Eckler, and then judge. Well, listen, the Dolphins also have skill position talent, but the O-line thing, I think is valid. Like,
this year, they had 4 new starters at O-line from 2020 to 2021. So they put in the emphasis to say, okay, well, we're going to actually protect our guy. We got our guy. We have the weapons because they do have weapons. But let me remind you that Justin Herbert has made guys like Jalen Guyton a name.
Yeah.
Okay, so it works both ways here because, of course, Eckler gets fed. Of course, you see Keenan Allen. This year, I'm seeing Mike Williams looking like a top 5 wide receiver. Closest thing I've seen to Calvin Johnson at this point, Megatron.
Ooh, this is good stuff.
So where's the credit for it, but like the negative for him? Like I get it. We want to hate. We don't want to give all that credit, but it's tough. It's tough to say he's not really looking like the real deal.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Let's go back to this past Sunday, Juan. Sorry, Randy. How did you feel about the play calling? Because I thought it was just
Utter shit.
that. See, this is why Randy
Utter
the
shit.
realist. This is why we love how we get the real talk from Randy the realist.
Yeah,
Because
utter shit.
and when they finally started to
No
open things
rhythm,
up,
no rhythm,
yeah.
no like no thinking process of like chess of like moving two pieces here and then I'm gonna hit you backside with a third here. Like just like no, like literally to me it's like no rhythm, like no rhythm at all. I'm not somebody who could dance, but like I could tell you for sure, like, hey, bro, you're off beat. Like there's nothing leading to another. Like, guys, you need 1 yard. What's your best play? Oh, fuck, run Wildcat. Like run it twice.
Yeah, exactly. Not just run it
No,
twice.
it doesn't work. Ugh. All right, we'll do something with Brissett, and then all right, well, he just ran it in. Cool.
But they have to learn from that, right? Because late fourth quarter, and then in that drive in overtime where they converted the 4th and 20, and it was wild. You saw good things were happening. Yeah, when they actually started to get Gesicki involved and they started attacking downfield. And also, like I wasn't happy with the way the Dolphins played, but I did think they should have gotten that call in the end zone on pass interference on Will Fuller that they didn't get. So that could have changed the outcome.
I don't like relying on that though, because
of course.
Yeah,
but I'm saying like I didn't think the Dolphins were good, and yet still they could have won the game because of that play.
No, listen. Let's be honest. Defense came to play. They came to play to start, right?
Yeah.
There's just, and I'll shout out our guy CK at 3YPC. He talked about it today or yesterday, excuse me. I heard it today. There was like a period where like the defense was like literally resting for like 15 minutes between like the first quarter after they scored that touchdown and coming back, and then a quick series with a touchdown and then coming back, and then it's like eventually they do get gassed, and you do see what happens where they ended up getting gassed in the late fourth quarter OT with the run game. Like it was just they're exhausted. We miss Raekwon. Like I get that, but throughout that and you know what's crazy about it? I'm starting to think it's like a tendency with Brian Flores where it's like his defensive minded background. I know he doesn't like to talk about it, but he's a defensive minded background. That's why we hired him. Forces these like calm and like wanting to be protective and safe things where it's like, bro, like sometimes you got to go for the jugular, dog. You got to be a little more aggressive. And like, I get it. It burned you versus Buffalo, but versus Buffalo, realistically, like you were down your QB, like it's different circumstances. You get me? Like at this point, it's like you want to win this game, you got to go win it. You go up 14-0, and then it's like you're punting on their 39-yard line, like on the 4th and 2. You don't have a play that you can get 2 yards. You really don't feel comfortable getting 2 yards with your full weaponry, like literally. Now Fuller's back. Like where's the debate? Like Savon only got 5 like snaps. Like
yeah, that's right. It's a great point.
What are we doing? And then like you see it where it gets to a point, and it's like last year. It's like you get down enough and you figure, all right, I really got to change. And then you start throwing. But then it's like you don't get to it.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating. We're joined here by Juan Cardona, a.k.a. Randy the Realist. So tell me, should Chris Grier, should he be on the hot seat?
Yes. Firmly. Like unless like we get like unless like literally Tua's gonna come back Superman style and like take over, like I don't see how I just don't see how you excuse 2020 like 3 first-round picks down the gutter, bro. And I'm just being as real as I can be. Like Austin Jackson, like it's not even I don't know if it's a skill versus will thing with him anymore. Like he wants to do it sometimes, but then he sometimes looks like he's not fully engaged. But then at other times he like just is bad. Noah first game like dressing like in his second year. Like I understand we have talent, but Justin Coleman just got burned for 84 or 94 yards. So who are we prioritizing here, and why are we prioritizing them? And then Tua with, unfortunately the Herbert debate because it was 5-6, right? That's what I remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
5-6. Yeah.
it's bleak. And then you're sitting here and you're taking 6th overall pick in Jalen Waddle, and you're making him a glorified juice.
Well, I said the same thing yesterday. You're throwing it to him 2 yards down the field every play. It's like,
I literally, and maybe it is because of Brissett. Because look, I saw, the where they threw it to him the first 3 games. Tua threw it to him 1 play over 10 plus yards,
right.
Another play over 20 plus. Brissett didn't do it at all week 2. Week 3 it was only once. But Fuller comes in and immediately it's 2 20 plus yarders. So it's like, it's obviously how they're construing the offense is where they're just not giving those opportunities.
I was told by my source that he heard the first phone call that Chris Greer got after that Raiders game was from Stephen Ross. We've seen and heard the reports from CBS and Pro Football Talk about how much Mr. Ross wants Deshaun Watson. I would still I would advise maybe to wait until the end of the year if you can, just to see how, because he's got some court cases in February. So you might just want to sit tight and see how those go first. But do you think whether they do it within the next month, because the trade deadline is a little over a month away, or do it in the offseason, do you think this team should or will end up going out and getting Watson?
See, you said should and will.
Well, because I want your opinion versus your expectation, right? I want to know what Randy the Realist wants to do, and then I also want to know what you think they're going to do.
I would want to wait till the end of the year. I also realize that the emphasis on still getting it done now is because of the fact that those things in February are still looming, and the price could be lowered, or other teams aren't interested, or you're looking at a couple different things there, right? So do I see it as a possibility? I could 100% see it as the reason why to keep Greer for another year. I don't see them making that move with the intention of potentially firing Greer off the results of it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
And they've already been cooking on this for, let's be honest, since March.
Yeah.
So if it's already been a little PR thing, right? Once it kicks up, it might get full blown, but they've already been dealing with it. So it wouldn't be as a shock as it would have been in March if it had just been before the draft. Now it's a more of finally they did it, and it's how do I feel about it?
Yeah. Well, great stuff here as always. You want to follow this man on Twitter at Exclusivity. You want to check out his work, 5reasonsports.com. And Juan, when's the next time we can see you or hear you on the 5 Reasons Sports Network?
You got a full dose of Randy the Realist tonight, 9 p.m. here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube.
Nice.
And I will be full blast. We're going to be breaking down the Raiders game, have some game footage. We're going to break down about Waddle. We're going to go into that final drive with Brissett. And we got a lot to talk about.
I love it. So make sure you follow him at Exclusivity. Thank you, Randy. I look forward to watching you tonight, my friend.
Appreciate you, brother.
Good stuff. And a fair comment here by Brooklyn Rob. How does getting Watson this year help the offensive line? Asking for a friend. Yeah, if you're talking about trade deadline, you should probably be looking at offensive tackles first before you're looking at bringing in Deshaun Watson. Now, again, maybe Watson, because he is more elusive and more athletic and better at shaking out of pressure than Tua is, and he's better at that than most. So he could probably do a little bit more behind this offensive line. But the same thing, and Sean, it's again what we talked about last week when my source told me a week ago that he heard from Nick Caserio, from someone close to Nick Caserio, I should say, to be fair, that Caserio, in whatever talks he's had with the Dolphins, is coming to realize the Dolphins are now realizing that they're more than a quarterback away, that their offense is more than a quarterback away. So I think Brooklyn Rob's 100% right. If you eventually come up with Deshaun Watson, maybe it does happen in the offseason. You've got to address that offensive line first or at the same time.
Yeah, and Donno, I know we're up against, but I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
The fact that Ross is reaching out and still saying that possibly he wants to trade for Watson, do you think that inside the NFL, there's going to be nothing handed down for Watson. You're not trading for somebody that you don't think is going to play.
Yeah, I don't know, because you'd like to think that being an owner, because that's a pretty they're pretty tight with the commissioner, because the commissioner essentially works for them, right? So if you're one of the 32 owners, you should have a pretty good idea what the commissioner's thinking. So I don't know. I can't say for sure, but yeah, you'd like to think that if you've got an owner and maybe multiple owners that are hell bent on acquiring this guy, they'd probably have a pretty good idea that the commissioner's not going to come out and suspend him. But some of this is unpredictable because you maybe don't know for sure how these lawsuits are going to wrap up, right? You may be hearing from Deshaun's lawyer, Rusty Hardin, might be saying, no, we're pretty confident that we're going to get these settled or that we can make these go away. I don't know how you can know that for sure, and you can't know 100% for sure that there's not going to be actual criminal charges that come out of this. And unless maybe law enforcement is kind of telling them on the down low, yeah, we're looking into it, but we don't have shit. We don't have anything. We have nothing to go by.
I'm kind of leaning toward, just because, again, as you just, you pointed out, the commissioner works for the owners. I can't think that you're going to make a trade of any way if you don't believe that he's going to be on the field for you.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Last thing here, I got to wrap it up a couple minutes early today, but I did want to bring this up. So we're getting a lot more votes now on my pre-show poll. We're up to 449 votes. Keep voting. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Donno. Which South Florida team is going to have the best year when the current and upcoming seasons are in the books? Your choices: Miami Dolphins getting just 5% of the vote. Miami Hurricanes, only 3% of the vote. The Miami Heat are the leader in the clubhouse at 63%. The Florida Panthers, second place now, a more distant second at 29%. I voted Panthers. I did. I think the Cats this year, I could see them winning a Stanley Cup before I could see the Heat winning an NBA title. I think the Heat can compete in the East. I think the Panthers could actually hoist the cup this year. David writes in, good show, terrible headline. Listen, every day this guy's got his complaints. I don't think he's ever liked the title of an episode.
This David guy.
He's a tough crowd. He keeps me humble. Huge shout out to Rafa in Miami. Want to throw shout outs to everybody here, everybody that I can. Rafa, David, Brooklyn Rob, Julio Infante Ramos. We love you as well, sir. Coaching has to be blamed also for this debacle. A first-year offensive line coach putting linemen in positions they never have played in before, just dumb. I like it. MB Beggs, Marco, thank you so much for tuning in today.
This is about you?
Who?
Is this about you? He is the problem? The longer he stays, nothing will change. I'm just kidding.
Maybe it is about me. I'm the mush after all. Fortnite Vids, thank you for tuning in. He says, teach me how to get verified. There's like a form you can fill out. I can't guarantee you'll get accepted or not. I don't know. I don't know what if you're Fortnite Vids, if you're like a big time streamer, you could probably get verified. If you're like an accountant, probably not. But if you're like a Fortnite streamer, you might be able to get verified, because they tend to favor like people who are, public figures of some kind over like people who do desk jobs. Let's see. Ryan Sproviero, thank you for tuning in. Let me see who else. God, I'm so bad at Quatus, Simply AKG, thank you. Welch, our guy Welch, Cap for Life. I love this dude. He's always so positive, Cap for Life. I love it. He said, Donno, Sean, Manny. Manny's not with us today, but Sean is holding the fort and doing an excellent job. Big Dan 305, thank you so much for tuning in. And Brian Cruz, thank you. And now I'll thank myself as well, because I wrote a couple of messages on the chat. Thank you to me, and thank you to Sean Stanley.
You're the first on the board.
I was the first on the board. I want to remind everyone, be sure that you are giving some love and celebrating our sponsors. Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill, your spot for 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. Flat screen, high-def TVs covering every wall to watch all the football games, every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. The food is delicious. QuarterdeckRestaurants.com. And guys, make sure you are signing up at BetUS.com, the official sportsbook of Donno Daily, and you're taking advantage of the deal that we offer here. Make sure you use our code when you sign up. This is a full-service sportsbook, America's favorite sportsbook. Customer service is excellent. You can bet on anything you can possibly imagine. They even have a casino for online gaming right in there. Bet the NFL, bet international soccer. I'm watching the Champions League right now on my other screen in here. BetUS.com. Use our code 5RSN125 for a 125% sign-up bonus. Huge shout-out and thanks to Juan Cardona. Huge shout-out and thanks to Brady Hawk, for Sean Stanley behind the scenes, everyone watching. Yeah, how about that? Thank you to Italia. I love it. And everyone, make sure, by the way, because I didn't plug this enough, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit the like button here on 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. Hit the like button and subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube. We will talk to everyone again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 1 p.m. right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.